As late winter keeps unfolding and the sun starts to slowly return to my little neighborhood, I feel a deep slowness as I go through a specific form of burnout after a recent diagnosis. I'll talk about that more in depth in time when I'm ready. But I also sense renewal and sight. Like I can catch glimmers of the next opening, the next portal, the next shape, the next feeling of the upcoming seasons ahead. As I keep remembering to be kind to myself, accept what I'm capable of doing in the day, I'm also finding windows into the bigness of the next energy cycle. And somehow, the key to opening those windows all the way is in letting myself be where I am, and releasing heavy expectations and rules, and starting with the smallest steps. Sometimes it feels like nothing will ever change, like the next wave will never come to pick me up. But of course it will. I can trust that. Can you also feel the simultaneous energy lull and expansion that's moving through? This time requires such tender care for ourselves as new visions integrate. Hello, my beautiful friends, my fellow space blobs and earth blobs, in whatever form you want to take. I don't really have a perfect formula for today's conversation, but I thought for those few of you who are sitting in a similar place to me, or maybe it's not so few, maybe it's a lot of us, maybe it's way more than I could even comprehend. Whoever out there is just wanting to sit with me and feel through February a little bit, just feel through the interesting energetic dynamics that we are working with right now, and create a little bit of a soft spot if you are like me and you are in a season of continuing fatigue and reevaluation. And I know I've been talking about that for about 2 years, and I think that's very realistic. A lot of us that go through things like burnout, chronic fatigue, diagnostic processes, huge life shifts, any of those things, they don't just come and go in a month or two. They do often last a few years at a time as we solve those mysteries, as we come home to ourselves. And so I think that this chat will be really soothing for any of us who are working with some of those energetics. Our culture is so obsessed with devaluing these seasons of uncertainty, fatigue, mystery. Our culture says that those have less value than the seasons of certainty, of clarity, of doing. And honestly, we need all of the different seasons. It's very fun to be in that doing season. It's very fun to feel clear. It's very fun to be forward focused. Those are fun seasons. But I think it's important that we reframe a little bit some of these seasons that work with a different type of magic. I realized for me, I'm somewhat of a seer, and I sit and I reflect. So for me, seasons of mystery, seasons of slowness, seasons of lower energy are kind of innate to some of the work that I do. So when I'm judging it, when I'm spending a lot of time trying to get out of it very quickly, I'm negating the fact that this is often where some of my deepest wisdom comes from and where I'm communing with the energetic field really, really vividly. And I feel like that energy is very, very strong right now in February. And there's an interesting combination of both a dip in energy, fatigue, processing time, as well as this very interesting energized wave moving through at the same exact time. And I want to explore that a little bit with you all today. I also just want to explore some themes I think that are really interesting and important to play with when it comes to transitions, when it comes to this kind of energetic meeting point of Aquarius and Pisces that we're working through right now. And overall, at the end, I'm hopefully going to pull a few cards. I just want to make this a really nice, cozy, grab your tea, grab your journal. You can just sit with me chatting in the background and do your art project kind of video, because that's what I'm needing. I woke up today so overstimulated and tired and just really needing to move at a snail's pace. Quite truly, I'm amazed I'm even sitting here right now, but I think it's important to have visibility on this ineffable and often not apparent part of the process for creatives, for sensitives, like those of us who are in this space. We don't see enough of it. We don't engage enough with it, and we don't feel supported enough because we don't have the language, the visuals, and the help. So that's part of why I showed up today. It's part of why I'm making this. It's not going to be the popular chat. It's not going to be the chat that changes my career and suddenly I'm tapped into everybody in the world. I'm not going to be tapped into everybody in the world with this space. I'm going to be tapped in with those of you who are really connected with me and understand this journey, because we have to find each other and connect in some deep way. So let's explore February together. I've always found February to be a really interesting dynamic point as we move through this Aquarian and Piscean energy, because in past traditions, when it comes to the Northern Hemisphere at least, February is that really lean time. February, early March, that very end of winter, the very beginning of spring, was when all the stores would start to grow low and people would start to have ritual around kind of this very deep simplification, this final stage of just coming back to spirit and reconnecting with it. And there is kind of this sense of a dip in energy. If you think about something, a tradition like Lent, where it's about taking out all the extras, right? And simplifying down and coming into reflection. And I think that there is something to that. I think there is something to the energetics there, where there is this kind of feeling of having to reassess, and this lower energy in the physical world where we're more connected and diffuse and connected to the bigger perspective, which Aquarius and Pisces definitely has that energetic to it. But at the same time, I think February is a really interesting time because a lot of new insights can be just flowing in, like really big, high energy insights can be coming through so fast, so intensely, so vividly, so emotionally, so physically that it's hard to ignore. Is anybody else feeling that? Like a simultaneous dip in energy where it's about simplifying, feeling very connected to spirit, and then also this really high electricity of new vision coming through. I think it's important to remember that those two things are allowed to exist at the same time. We don't have to like pick sides. We don't have to figure out if we're either here or there. I think also when we're talking about things like seasons of mystery or fatigue or anything like that, that I often bring up, that we don't have to have it in such a structured container as I sometimes think we do. Like sometimes it feels like, okay, I'm dealing with chronic fatigue or with overwhelm right now, so that's what I'm doing right now. And that is totally valid. However, there might be other layers going on as well. You might be having technicolor visions when you have to lay down in bed. You might be having new visions of what you're wanting to create. You might be having realizations. You might be doing some really deep healing. And I think that that is a really important dynamic to play with this February, that you don't have to just kind of limit yourself and how you are describing and thinking about the season of life that you're in, that it can have all these multifaceted elements to it. And I think we're really, really feeling that interesting combination of energy. Now, speaking of Aquarius and Pisces energy, I also wanted to mention that both of these signs are very interested in dissolving old containers. Each in their own way. Aquarius is a little bit more analytical, a little bit more ideas-based, using our intellect, having visions that connect ideas and kind of create this web of ideas. Pisces is much more the spiritual, energetic, watery energy that's helping us do the dissolving, the emotional dissolving. However, we're working with tons of Aquarius and Pisces energy all throughout February, and both of them are like, what rules are just no longer applying to you? What expectations are no longer applying to you? What harsh regulations do you have on yourself that just don't fit? What are rules or containers that just are from a past time, even 2023, that want to dissolve right now? That can be a little uncomfortable, but also exciting at the same time. I also wanted to mention something. I think this is really important. Speaking of this idea of fatigue plus high energy that can be going through, I think that's because a lot of us are integrating a lot of new information right now in the world. Many of us have gone through something pretty intense over the last 6 months, or even 3 months. Most of the people I'm talking to right now have gone through something pretty profound in the last 6 months. And many of us are integrating, just understanding who we are now, and integrating ideas, integrating some of these visions that are coming through. And guess what? When we have huge new waves of vision, we have huge new waves of understanding ourselves, that's going to take some energy. And that's once again a play on this idea that you can both feel tired, confused, foggy, low motivation, any of those things, any and all of those things, and also feel this excitement and this clarity and these moments of like surging energy. Like that makes a lot of sense if you really think about it. If you're having surging energy and you're having huge new ideas, what does your body need to do? What does your energetic field need to do in order to incorporate those things? Sometimes when we're tired, when we feel like we're not doing enough, when we feel like we're missing the brief in life, when we feel like we should be more in this other season, we're kind of missing the fact that we're doing a lot. It's just that it's not apparent. It's just that it's not something that you can put on a piece of paper and send to your boss and say, look, here's my checklist. Maybe we can do that a little bit with our therapists, but even there, some of this stuff is just really intangible. It's not as linear as talking about maybe how we're processing the past. It could be stuff that we don't even have words or language for yet, and we haven't really been able to understand what to do with yet. And so I think that intangible quality to it, that sense that it doesn't have like a nice tidy delivery system where we can say, this is what's going on, this is what I'm integrating, makes it feel like we're doing something wrong, or like we're missing a step, or we're not doing enough. And I just want to remind all of us that there's a lot more going on underneath the surface than I think even those of us who sit here every day and think about these themes even realizes. So that's going on a collective and individual level at a really intense, energetic way right now. And it is just everywhere. And you can feel it, you can see it, you can tap into it. I've seen it too, just as a creator. I've seen it with so many other creators on YouTube or on the internet. They're kind of going through this dissolving, reevaluation process, and it's pretty intense. And for the artists and the creatives and the sensitives right now, we're doing huge amounts of reevaluation and an energetic integration that is taking a ton of our resources. It's so important to just put words to that to help us feel less judgmental towards ourselves. The final thing I wanted to talk about today is the fact that we need the process. I've been thinking about, we've been looking at different places to live, different houses, different apartments, different neighborhoods. For those of you who are new here, haven't been around for very long, I live in Stockholm with my husband and my dog, and I have some sensory issues, one could say. Hint, hint, if you know, you know. And where we're living right now isn't really supporting me very well. And so we're trying to figure all that out. And I've been really stressing out because I feel like I already needed to know where I'm going to be living and if it's going to work and if I'm going to be able to get out of this stage of like burnout and sensory just crashing overwhelm. And I realized, I'm stressing myself out because I need the process. I need the process of seeing things. I need the process then of integrating it. I need the process of having maybe a little bit of contrast and feel like, ooh, that doesn't feel quite right. I need the process of feeling like I'm not ready yet, and then feeling ready, and then taking a little bit of a step. I need each of those things to get to my answers. And a lot of times I'll panic because I don't have the answer first. And I feel like I need to get the answer first, and then I'll be okay. But I need my process. I need that building of trust with myself. I need that compare and contrast experience. I need the process of allowing that integration to happen before I can know what the next right step is going to be, right? Once again, I think a lot of us feel like we need to already have it figured out. We already need to have the answers. Why don't we have the answers? Why haven't we just been able to meditate on this and know exactly what to do next? It's because we need that process, and because the next right answer is often much smaller and much less comprehensive than we want it to be. A lot of times that next right answer is going to be pretty small. It's going to be pretty focused on something that maybe doesn't even feel like it connects to the rest of the puzzle pieces. But the next right answer is going to be pretty focused on something that maybe doesn't even feel like it connects to the rest of the puzzle pieces. But the next right answer is going to be pretty focused on something that maybe doesn't even feel like it connects to the rest of the puzzle pieces. But I think all in all, what I'm really saying here for this February is that we're in this interesting stage of integrating so much new information, so many new energetic waves, so many new ways of communing with this lifetime, communing with each other, communing with the earth that we are on. It's giving me goosebumps talking about this. We're doing so much of that. And it creates this interesting dynamic of both feeling like we're already living in the future and like we're living in the past. And like right now, we're having interesting varying levels of energy physically, mentally, emotionally. And that is very normal and understandable and really, really powerful. This is a lot of times, I think, how I experience the psychic field, the energetic field, the etheric field, is that I feel sometimes very physically tired, but very tapped in energetically in this other way. Let me know how you're feeling with this interesting dynamic of energetics. I'd be really curious to see how you're experiencing it. If you're also going through these huge waves of like kind of reinventing the wheel, reevaluating all of these elements that are moving through your life, I'd really love to hear about that. I wanted to end this very loose showing up as I am conversation with a little bit of tarot. And if you have been with me for a little while, you know that I kind of have my own technique with tarot, and I'm never pulling these cards to give us an expectation, put like a seed in our mind that shapes where we are. I want each of us to walk away from these conversations feeling like we can take what we want from it and feel free to expand upon it and play, and not feel like I've just given you the prognosis for this February, and that we feel that openness and that softness. And I'm going to be walking us through the major arcana over on my Patreon for both of my paid tiers starting in March. And the goal is going to be to amplify our intuition, amplify our self-trust, and get reacquainted with this idea of the major arcana through a really slow, gentle practice that's also gonna, I think, pump up some of those tarot techniques and trust in your process and get us out of some of the more unhealthy ways we sometimes engage with tarot or feel like we need to do it, and just to feel really soothed, come back to the beautiful art of it. So if you're interested, I'd love to see you there. And I think I'm just going to pull one card for our conversation today because I do want to keep it really open, really soft, really gentle for each of us. I know we're each on our own journeys. We're not all going to have the same path. An Ace of Swords came through, and that gives me full body chills because this is really it. I'm sitting here right in the middle of Aquarius season as we're doing this chat. And Ace of Swords is so the Aquarian energy right now. So many new insights opening up, coming in, clearing the way, just kind of changing the whole perspective on things, turning some things up on their head, changing directions. Some of us are realizing there's a path there that we weren't even thinking about. Some of us are grieving a path that maybe we realize we don't want to go on, whatever it may be. The Ace of Swords is so much about that kind of revealing energy. It almost reminds me of like a full moon or something that just casts light so clearly and vividly on everything and all the elements, and understanding what we're embracing and what we're releasing. And once again, like I was saying, this kind of energy, the aces in tarot in general, it's always a good thing to remember that when these are here, they're beautiful. They often mean getting more in touch with what we really need and where we're headed and what we want to start to express in our lives, right? That all four of the aces do that throughout tarot. They do take energy. Aces take a tremendous amount of energy. We have to integrate. A lot of times we'll be shifting things around in our energetic field. Our bodies might be feeling the excitement and the overwhelm of new information coming through. And once again, that's what I've been saying this entire video. It's just basically me being 20 minutes being like, it makes sense that you're tired. But it's true that when we're working with energy, like the Ace of Swords, it is both very exciting, a big relief, revealing, all of those good things, and it requires energy. So just a reminder, like, this is what's going on right now. And that's huge. It's huge to have so much new vision coming through. I'm really excited about it, but we've got to take care of ourselves. Like, we have to take care of ourselves. It's okay to move at a tortoise pace like me. That's just where I am right now. And I've really been focusing on noticing when I'm being really hard on myself within that tortoise pace, within that expectation that I need to be different than I am right now. I'm really noticing how often I think things like that somehow I need to be different than who I am so that I can be okay, that I can be safe and I can be secure. I'm really trying to think in terms of I'm safe and secure in letting myself be here now. And the less I fight that, the more I'm able to show up here in this space with you all, as well as in my life everywhere. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this little gentle conversation. I hope it gave you some motivation, inspiration, just a gentle way of maybe thinking about these interesting, different energy flows that are moving through right now that are quite distinct. And it's interesting to navigate. I would say on a day-to-day basis, it is such a range of emotions and such a range of physical and mental experiences that any day can bring with it. And I think it's important we just have moments to check in with that. Like I mentioned, I'd love to see you on Patreon. That is what allows me to keep doing this work here and giving it to everyone. If you can, I would really appreciate that support. It means so much to me, and it also allows me to give you more support and to offer up even more support and love. Like I said, we're doing this big tarot journey. I also offer up weekly chats to reconnect to our intuition and the collective energy and kind of situate ourselves so we feel supported there. We also have a Magic Makers group where we meet on Zoom twice a month and just talk about ideas. We just did a conversation about the inner rebel, and it blew me away. It was so powerful. That group is just amazing, lovely spirits with a lot of great ideas. I'd love to see you there. So those spaces really mean so much to me. For those of you who are probably already with me, I'm preaching to the choir, but I just appreciate it. And I appreciate everyone who is here and subscribes, leaves a comment, lets me know how it's going. If you've watched this far, let me know. What is the word that you would say is describing your February so far, and how are you doing? Let me know. I am so looking forward to chatting with you about Pisces season and the Virgo full moon coming up over the next couple of weeks, and just feeling through the rest of this February together. We're going to keep having these chats about energy and intuition and how to be here in the creative process. So look out for more of those in the very near future. I'm sending you all so much love.